Chicago Bears voice. We are only 2 days into training camp, and already the road to the Super Bowl feels like a battle through a storm. If you thought this journey was going to be smooth, clean, and entirely drama-free for your beloved Bears, day 2 of camp just walked in and laughed right in our faces. We are just 48 hours into the grind. And the injury report is already looking like a crowded hospital waiting room. The quarterback every single one of us is counting on to carry this historic franchise through the dark ages is suddenly fighting through multiple interceptions. Meanwhile, the offensive line situation, which we all desperately hoped would quietly sort itself out, is making a whole lot of noise for all the wrong reasons. But take a deep breath. This is where we need to find our composure. None of this is the end of the world. In fact, if you look past the panic and dig beneath the surface of this early chaos, there are some genuinely beautiful, exciting storylines emerging. They suggest that when this Bears team is fully healthy and firing on all cylinders, we could be witnessing the birth of something truly special. The real question is whether they can overcome the adversity to get there. Today, we are going to break down every single piece of this puzzle with the absolute detail, honesty, and passion that this legendary fanbase deserves. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, and you are listening to Chicago Bears Voice, the only place that refuses to flinch from the hard conversations and never oversells you on false hope. We are here to tell you exactly what is happening, what it truly means for our season, and what you need to keep your eyes on. Right now, what is happening at training camp is a lot to process. So, let's look at the reality of this team together. We have to start with the injuries. There is no way to have an honest conversation about where this team stands without confronting the reality of the key players who are currently unable to practice. Just 2 days into camp, that list is already longer than any of us want to see. Let's go through it name by name, because each one of these men carries a massive weight on their shoulders. And each situation brings its own level of deep concern. First, and by far the most alarming, Kyler Gordon did not practice on day 2. He did not practice at all. If you follow this team with your heart, you know exactly why that name makes your stomach drop. Kyler Gordon is one of the absolute best, most vital cornerbacks on this entire roster. He is the kind of warrior who, even when his body is screaming in pain, finds a way to make a monumental impact on the field. Think back to that brutal playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. Anyone watching could see he was not even close to 100%. Yet, he went out there anyway. He competed, he stood strong, and he gave the Bears exactly what they needed in the secondary. That is who Kyler Gordon is. He fights. He refuses to use physical pain as an excuse to disappear. But the heartbreaking problem with Kyler has never been his effort or his toughness. It is his availability. He carries a history of recurring injuries that have limited his immense potential throughout his career. Every single time his name appears on that injury report, it triggers a very specific, painful kind of anxiety for us. It is an anxiety that is completely understandable and entirely justified. Here is the cold, hard truth. This team desperately needs him healthy for the full 17-game stretch, not just for the first 8 games, and not just for a late December playoff run. We need him for the whole journey. Before we continue breaking down this emotional roller coaster of a camp, I want to pause for a quick moment. We put an immense amount of hard work, sleepless nights, and pure dedication into producing deep-dive documentaries like this for our community. Every single subscription we receive is the ultimate motivation for us to keep pushing forward. If you love this team and want to support honest, passionate coverage, please take a second right now to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's grow this community together. The defense is the heartbeat of what Chicago is trying to build, and our secondary is the absolute anchor of that vision. If Kyler Gordon is forced to manage nagging injuries through September, October, and November, this entire defense will suffer. Opposing quarterbacks will find the cracks and exploit whatever limitations he is forced to play through. Getting him back to absolute full health before the regular season kicks off is not a luxury. It is a mandatory requirement. Looking past Gordon, we see a collection of offensive linemen who were physically present on day 2, but might as well have been watching from the upper deck of the stadium for all the practicing they were actually doing. Al Trapo, Jonah Jackson, and Joe Thunn were all spotted on the sidelines. All 3 of them. Not a single one participated in drills. Not a single one took an actual practice rep. They were just standing there, trapped in various states of being managed by the medical staff, while the rest of the team worked around them. Now, Jonah Jackson is the newest, most frustrating addition to this list. On day one, everything felt completely fine. He showed up, he practiced hard, and everything looked completely normal. Then, out of nowhere, he developed severe left shoulder soreness, and just like that, he was completely shut down for day two. Left shoulder soreness for a starting offensive lineman is a massive red flag. That is his blocking arm. That is the exact appendage he has to use on literally every single snap to protect the franchise quarterback everyone in this city is counting on. So yes, holding him out is absolutely the right medical decision. Rushing a left shoulder injury for an interior lineman would be the exact kind of short-term thinking that ruins an entire season. But let's not sugarcoat it, it is still incredibly disheartening to see. The one beautiful ray of sunshine on this entire injury report belongs to Tyrique Stevenson. He sent a wave of panic through the facility on Tuesday when he left the session early with a scary-looking issue. Everyone was holding their breath. But he showed immense resilience, returning to full participation on day two. That is the absolute best-case scenario when a key young player goes down. A cautious exit, a thorough evaluation, and a triumphant return the very next morning. No setbacks, no extended absences, just intelligent management of a scary situation. We need more of that. The training staff has to carefully thread the needle between pushing these players to their limits and protecting them from their own competitive nature. Getting Stevenson back on the field is a small but deeply meaningful victory. Now, let's lift our gaze and look at the offensive line from a much larger panoramic perspective, because the medical updates are only half the story. The other half is the developing drama at the left tackle position, and it is easily one of the most critical storylines of this entire offseason. Oscar Shapiro had an absolutely breathtaking season for the Bears last year. He was a monumental upgrade on the blind side, bringing a rare blend of ferocious physicality and elite football intelligence to the line. He was a massive reason why Caleb Williams was able to operate with confidence and develop into the star we know he can be. But then came that devastating playoff game against Green Bay. Shapiro went down with a severe injury, one that has kept him completely sidelined heading into this camp. In the blink of an eye, the starting left tackle job was wide open, and the question of who would protect our crown jewel became an urgent, burning crisis. Enter Braxton Jones. And honestly, let's give this young man his flowers right now. Because what he has done in these opening days of training camp is nothing short of inspirational. He has stepped into the massive void at left tackle with an incredible amount of confidence, poise, and raw determination. His performance makes it clear that he does not view himself as a temporary placeholder. Braxton came in, completely absorbed the complexities of the playbook, mastered his blocking assignments, and proved he can handle the immense psychological pressure of protecting the quarterback's blind side. In doing so, he sent a loud, undeniable message to Ben Johnson and the rest of the coaching staff: he is ready for this mantle. He didn't get the inside track because of politics or draft capital. He earned it through blood, sweat, and performance. He showed up, he competed, and he claimed what was his. What makes Braxton Jones so incredibly valuable in this specific role is his balanced ability to excel in both pass protection and the run game. Left tackles who can truly dominate in both phases are incredibly rare in today's NFL. Most players at that position are forced to specialize in one or the other. The fact that Braxton projects as a legitimate force in both dimensions gives our offensive scheme a level of flexibility and raw power that we haven't seen in a long time. Ben Johnson, who is widely regarded as one of the most brilliant, creative offensive minds in the entire sport right now, absolutely needs a dynamic left tackle who can handle a wide variety of complex assignments. The early signs are screaming that Braxton Jones is that guy. Of course, the ultimate dream remains that Oscar Shapiro will eventually return from his injury, providing the Bears with elite depth and luxury options along the front five. If that happens, the coaching staff will have a fascinating, high-stakes decision to make about how to deploy two high-quality tackles. That is a beautiful problem to have. But for right now, in this exact moment, Braxton Jones is the man protecting the future of Chicago, and every single Bears fan should feel incredibly good about that. All right. Now let's pivot to the moment you have all been waiting for, or perhaps dreading, depending on how much sleep you've been losing over this team. Let's talk about Caleb Williams and the interceptions. This is the heavy headline that has launched 1,000 panicked Twitter threads, and it deserves a thorough, completely honest, and fair assessment from us. On day 1 of training camp, Caleb Williams threw 2 interceptions. On day 2, the bleeding didn't stop. He threw more. Devin Bush read his eyes and took one away. Kobe Bryant jumped a route and came down with another. The defensive secondary is winning the individual battles right now, and Caleb is finding himself on the wrong side of the highlight reel. Look, if you are a die-hard Bears fan and you saw those reports online and felt your stomach sink into the floor, please know that your reaction is completely human. We have waited a long, agonizing time in this city for a quarterback truly worth believing in. We watched Caleb have a breathtaking breakout year, drag this team into the postseason, earn the prestigious Madden cover, and become the glowing face of a franchise renaissance. Then, just 48 hours into camp, the savior you decided to fully commit your football soul to is throwing interceptions like he's trying to break a record. The anxiety is heavy, and it is real. But this is exactly why we need to take a collective breath, step back from the ledge, and look at the bigger picture. Training camp is quite literally designed to be the place where mistakes happen. That isn't a lazy excuse or coping mechanism. It is the entire purpose of the exercise. You go out there on the practice field to push the absolute boundaries of what is possible. You try throws you wouldn't dare try on a Sunday in November. You make the mistakes, you feel the sting, you dissect the film, and you grow before the games actually start to count toward your record. Every single legendary quarterback in the history of the National Football League has had absolutely putrid training camp practices. This isn't a disaster. This is just football. What matters infinitely more than the raw number of interceptions is the context surrounding those throws. When you actually look at the details, the story changes completely. The exact same Caleb Williams who struggled during the full-team drills went an absolutely flawless 10 for 10 during the 7-on-7 sessions. 10 passes, 10 completions, 0 mistakes. Multiple touchdowns dropped right into the breadbasket of his receivers. That is the elite Caleb Williams who won our hearts last season and made this entire city start dreaming of a Lombardi trophy. That version of him is still very much alive and well. The talent hasn't vanished. The interceptions are not evidence of a regression. They are simply proof that in full-team drills, against a flying, aggressive defense, he is trying to make highly aggressive decisions that aren't connecting yet. The coaching staff will look at those mistakes, break them down frame by frame, and transform them into invaluable teaching moments. That is the messy, non-linear reality of quarterback development. There is also a very real, very heavy conversation to be had about the psychological impact of the Madden cover and the sheer weight of external expectation crashing down on a young man's shoulders. Caleb earned that cover. His play on the field demanded it. But we would be foolish to ignore how that level of blinding spotlight can alter a player's mindset. It creates a quiet, invisible pressure that often manifests as overthinking. Overthinking leads to trying to force plays that aren't there, which leads to the exact kind of wild, dangerous throws we saw during his rookie year when the offensive line was crumbling and he felt he had to carry the entire city on his back. The coaching staff is acutely aware of this mental trap. You can see it in how they are coaching him every single day. The relentless emphasis on perfect ball placement, on making advanced pre-snap reads, on maintaining a calm pocket presence, and on becoming a clinical pocket passer rather than a frantic scrambler searching for a miracle, all of it is designed to give Caleb the emotional and technical tools to survive the hype storm. The most comforting piece of news is that Caleb Williams possesses an incredible amount of self-awareness. He spoke about this openly just a few days ago. He talked about his deep need to remain completely stoic, to refuse to let his emotions ride the roller coaster of being too high after a great touchdown or too low after a devastating pick. He wants to be the steady, unshakable rock his teammates can look to in moments of crisis. A young quarterback who can look in the mirror, identify his own emotional flaws, and actively work to master them is a quarterback who is going to figure it out. The interceptions on day 2 are just a tiny footnote in a very long book. His willingness to learn, adapt, and grow is the real story here. And if you need proof of that growth, just look at the breathtaking touchdown throw he made to Khalif Raymond in the back of the end zone. He felt the pocket collapsing, rolled out to his right under immense pressure, kept his eyes downfield, located his man, and delivered an absolute feather of a pass with pinpoint precision right where only his receiver could get it. That single play tells you absolutely everything you need to know about what Caleb Williams is capable of when he trusts his eyes, rhythm, and arm. The singular goal between now and September is to make that magical version of Caleb the baseline standard, not just an occasional flash of brilliance. Before we look ahead to the final stretch of camp, let's shine a light on an incredibly compelling storyline that is flying completely under the radar right now, the fierce battle at the bottom of the wide receiver depth chart. Beyond the locked-in superstars like Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, and Zay Jones, there is an absolute dogfight happening for those final roster spots, and the chess match is fascinating. Take Scotty Miller, for example. A former Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, possesses the kind of terrifying straight-line speed off the line of scrimmage that you simply cannot teach. He is fighting for his life in this camp, and he is opening some eyes. Now, is Scotty the exact same explosive weapon he was during those glorious years in Tampa when he was catching deep bombs from Tom Brady? Probably not. Time is undefeated, and careers inevitably shift. But what Miller still brings to the table is elite experience, veteran savvy, and the kind of big game Dina that you cannot manufacture in a laboratory. He has stood on the mountaintop. He knows what the pressure feels like. At this specific stage of his journey, his greatest value to the Chicago Bears might not even be on offense. It might be on special teams as a punt returner. Think about the strategic brilliance of that move for a second. Luther Burden has been taking reps in the return game during camp, which is incredibly exciting because putting the ball in Luther's hands in open space is a terrifying nightmare for any defensive coordinator. But Luther is also one of the most irreplaceable high-value offensive pillars on this entire team. Exposing him to unnecessary violent collisions on special teams is a massive risk that simply doesn't make sense when you look at the grand design of the season. One bad hit, one awkward turf interaction, one missed block on the coverage team. And suddenly your explosive offensive weapon is lost for the year. That is a gamble we shouldn't be willing to take. Scotty Miller, however, has absolutely everything to gain. He is fighting for a job, he has the elite speed to break a game wide open as a returner, and he has the veteran poise to handle the pressure of the role. If he can secure his spot on this roster by transforming our special teams unit, he revives his own career while giving the Bears a genuine weapon in a phase of the game that everyone ignores until it decides a playoff game in January. Now, comparing him to the legendary Devin Hester is obviously a massive stretch. There is only one Devin Hester, and there will never, ever be another. But the fundamental philosophy behind the idea is completely flawless. Combining raw speed and veteran intelligence in the return game yields massive hidden value. The front office would be wise to take it seriously. And the competition doesn't stop with Miller. Names like Kareem Raymond, Zavon Thomas, and Jay Walker have all been quietly putting together spectacular practices. These are the depth pieces, the hungry young men scratching and clawing for an opportunity. The fact that all three are consistently making plays tells you everything about the depth of this wide receiver room. That kind of internal fire makes everyone better. It forces the high-priced starters to stay sharp, it gives the coaching staff incredible tactical flexibility. And it proves this organization is finally building a sustainable roster. Depth is what carries a franchise through the brutal, exhausting grind of an NFL season when the winter weather rolls in and injuries start to mount. When you look at the totality of Day 2 of Bears training camp, the reality is clear. There are very real, very heavy concerns that we must monitor closely. The injury list is far too long for comfort, Caleb Williams has some sloppy mistakes he needs to clean up immediately, and the left tackle position is a high-stakes puzzle being solved in real time. But underneath the surface of those anxieties lies an undeniable foundation for deep optimism. Braxton Jones is answering the call of duty. Caleb Williams showed us his elite ceiling in 7-on-7s. The wide receiver depth is fierce and competitive. This coaching staff, under the brilliant guidance of Ben Johnson, has earned our trust and deserves the benefit of the doubt as they navigate this early summer chaos. The summer break is rapidly approaching in late July. The mission between right now and that final whistle is simple. Get healthy, get incredibly sharp, and make sure every single player on both sides of the ball is speaking the exact same language. If they can do that, they will come back in the fall ready to prove to the world that this Chicago Bears team is not just a heartwarming, feel-good story. We are a legitimate championship contender. As we close out this documentary, I want to remind you again that bringing you this level of honest, deep, and dedicated Bears coverage takes an incredible amount of hard work and passion. If you want to see this channel grow and continue producing films like this, please take a brief moment right now to subscribe to Chicago Bears Voice, leave a like on this video, share it with your friends, and drop a comment below. Every single subscription gives us the fuel and motivation to keep fighting for this community. Tell me what is worrying you the most right now. Is it the mounting injuries, Caleb's interceptions, or something else entirely? I want to read your thoughts. Turn on that notification bell so you never miss an episode. The season is coming fast, Chicago is starving for a winner, and we are ready. Bear down.